first time you brought him up, it was so refuted. I never did bring him up. It was so refuted. Like, it's like a debate kid bringing up that, like, there's only about 3 million people in the U.S. and then the other team attacking that. It's 300 million. It's 300 million for the rest of that. Smell of blood in the water, and they just rip out their 37 sharks to attack it. That's what every team who's losing the round says. Okay, number 51. They tell us on this one that we got, what do we got? We got a, it directly, y directly varies with z squared, and y inversely varies with x. And then they tell us, okay, now this is where English gets in the way. They tell us that the constant of variation, and I think they mean only for this one because that's where the comma is 7 pi. Oh. That's what I think. But the comma is in a weird spot, so it's hard to tell if it's possessive to this or to both. But I'm going to assume this because then it creates a really awesome math problem. It's a much better math problem with that. And then they tell us that when x is equal to 2, sadly I have this problem I thought memorized, but I forgot the last part. And if x is equal to 12, z is equal to 2. And then what we have to find is figure out this k. We got to figure out what that k is equal to. All right, so that's a 2, not a 12. Thank you. And that's a z, not a y. I don't know why I was smoking crack on that. Okay, so what should we do? Ideas. Did I write that back? No, x is 12, z is 2. Ideas. What should we do? I have no idea. Math, help me. Ideas. Primavera, what do you think, brother?
We plug in the value for x.
Yeah, we replace the x's with what they're equal to. We replace the z's with what they're equal to. Now, let me ask you a question. Which one would be easier to do something with? Which one is easier to do something with? Yeah, because we were left with how many variables here? That's like our pre-algebra dream. We're left with how many variables here? 2. That's tough if we can't find one of them. But here's the dealio. If we can solve for y here, what can we do with it? Yeah, we can do that, puppy. So let's do that. What should we do first over here? Square. What's 2 squared? What's 4 times 7? That was a terrible response rate. 4 times 7.
28. Oh my god. 28. It's too early.
It's 10 o'clock. It's not too early. What's 4 times 7? Okay, before 2. Okay, that's going to be bad. That'll be a very interesting college essay. I really work better after 2:45, and unfortunately my school got out at 2:45. Even worse, we unfortunately had math class way before 2:45. All right, so we got that. Next, what do we do? Okay, we replace y with what it's equal to. Plug it in, cancel. Those are like middle school terms. I want you to go to college like blowing your professor's brains away with your vocabulary. They're like, what high school did you go to? Where in America are they still teaching these advanced words? I thought every teenager replaced basically every word with the word like. Oh, yeah, it's like division. No, chemistry is not like division. Well, it's like. It could be. No, precise definition. So we replace y with what it's equal to. So we got 28 pi. K over 12. Ideas. How do we solve that? We got to figure out what this k is equal to. Primavera, apparently you're on your A game today. Apparently he wakes up before 10 o'clock. Yes. You should not be just guessing.
I'm giving an educated guess.
Hopefully it's even better than that.
I'm multiplying both sides by 12.
Okay, now question. Why do we do that? And you cannot use the word cancel. Plug in. Executed. Cancel. Netflix. What did you do there, Ethan? What do you think?
We're isolating k by itself.
Kind of. We no our pre-algebra teacher shows the step, even though they should. Now we skip some steps in middle school, and then like we don't get what we were supposed to get because we were so busy trying to convince kids the mechanics of what we were doing. We forgot to teach them the why of that because you guys are in honors. You should know the why. Why do we do that? You cannot use the word cancel. And well, let me ask you this question. Better question. What step do we not show but is really there? What step do we not show but it's really there? Well, let me show you. What's 12 times 28 real quick?
336.
Good job, Primavera. You are on your game today. What's over here? Well, we multiply. What's the denominator 12 even though we're too lazy to write it?
1.
And what's k times 12? And what's 12 times 1? Now, really conveniently, what's 12 divided by 12? 1, right. We multiplied so we could get a coefficient of 1. We multiplied so we get a coefficient of 1. We didn't cancel it out. We canceled Netflix. We don't cancel in math. We multiplied so we got a coefficient of 1. Because really, with 12 divided by 12 is just equal to 1. And 1k is equal to that. Now, you may say, no, that's not really. Okay, cancel. You cancel Netflix. You don't cancel in math. Oh, my goodness. Who's missing? Good Lord. Yeah. My previous computer used to have a button that I could just mute it with, but this one doesn't. I've never worked at a school where when you're missing a student, you email everybody who works here. Like, no offense, if there's a third grader missing, I don't need to know about it. And number two, like, if you have to email out several times a day that you're missing students, maybe it's you. Maybe it's you. Okay, so 336 pi is equal to k. Question, should we multiply that out and figure out what the decimal is? No! This is a better answer. This is exactly right. If you multiply it out and get a decimal, you only get a what? Decimal. Yeah, which is not equal. It's approximate. Right. Do you want your plane to land exactly on the runway or approximately on the runway? Exactly right. When you're doing brain surgery, do you want them to, cut out exactly what they're supposed to, or like good enough? Exactly. Good enough. I dare you go in. I know he hasn't been in my class before. I dare you to go into surgery and be like, doctor, you don't need exactly to get that tumor out, just good enough. Don't spend too much.
If it's good enough, then it means like it's satisfactory. So
let me ask you a question. What's a really rigorous definition of good enough? We don't want to know. We don't want to know. We know what exactly means. We don't want to know his definition or her definition of good enough. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to look that one up. Be like, well, let me see. No, that's not good enough for me. Get back in there. And then the doctor's like, really? You want me to put you back under and get you back in there? He's like, get it exactly right. Not good enough. And then he's thinking to himself, like, this is why healthcare is so expensive. Questions on that one? Yep. Oh, yeah. What's y equal to? You sure? I thought we were supposed to find. We're supposed to estimate. I have no idea how they got that 7. Because here's the bad news. They're using y for 2 different things. And that's where that comma comes in. I asked somebody in last period to ask Miskovich what that comma indicates. So I don't know if it applies to both. Because if it applies to both, you got 2 different y's and you're in trouble. Because y is equal to 1 in the first equation and another in the second. And that's a bad question if that's there. But let me get back to Jameson. When Jameson and Miskovich get back to me on that comma, we'll get back to that problem. Okay. Adrian, very quickly, because I got a new lesson today that's just full of excitement and fun.
In the book, it said to like put both of the indirect and or inverse and direct in the same equation. I showed you how to do that.
Yes, but then we get 2 different values for y, and that's not cool. That's why I asked. We'll talk about. Let me get back on that comma to you. That comma is the decider on this one. But yes, I'm aware of that. But sometimes the book's wrong, and I think this might be one of the times they might have put the comma where they didn't want it. Yes.
I have the definition of good
I
enough.
don't want to know it.
I do.
Because I don't want to be going into brain surgery thinking just do good enough, doc. Oh my goodness.
Who goes into brain surgery that often for it to be like a? Yeah, but that's you. You going brain surgery a lot?
I don't want to figure it out. All right, take a desk. Back like them to you, the person next to you. Take a sheet of paper and split it. What's that? No, I'm okay if 16 is on your radar. I'm okay with that one. 51, I'm not okay with. And plus, I got to giddy up. I'm at 51. I spent too much time talking at the start of period today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have a 3-question quiz. Number 1, take your homework. Pass it over to Jacob Smith. Jacob, give it to one of the TAs, preferably Cameron Ball, Cameron Todd, and Caleb Neal. TAs, the new grade sheets are in there for the new semester. Connor, your homework's graded out of 5 every day. Homework is for you. It's not for me. I give you a daily quiz that I figure out if you know what I'm talking about, but 5 if you do it all, most of it. If you do like 1 or 2, I'm okay with that. 4 for most of it, 3 for half of it, 2 for less, 1 for hardly anything, and 0 if you didn't do it. Just FYI, this homework grade is on time. Then at the end of the chapter, you will turn in every single problem from the entire chapter for a point per problem. So homework's only worth 5 points today, but it's worth however many problems there are at the end of the chapter. So do not throw your homework away. All right, number 1. Beckman length in between you and the person sitting next to you. There you go, Isaac. I was just about to tell you that was the one that's skinny. Okay, part A. Is this direct or inverse variation? That's because we had a break.
We didn't do it before.
Next year, are you suggesting I give some daily quizzes over break just to keep you on your A game?
Do you realize how
I only have to
awesome
believe
that is?
Well, I always warn the kids every year, if I catch y'all doing drugs over break, I will start giving homework over break.
Did you warn us this time?
How would you do
If you came back and like in IC, you're gone for exactly 10 days.
Wait, what?
Because drugs are a 10-day suspension.
Oh.
So if you're gone for exactly 10 days after break, I'm pretty smart. I can figure that one out.
During break, and I was like,
Well, yeah, during break, if you get caught by the cops, they still suspend you from school.
oh,
Because, you know, nothing gets you off drugs faster than being totally unsupervised for 2 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
I know. You start to think about that. So somebody made a really bad choice. So let's leave them alone for 2 weeks because that'll fix them.
You're like, oh man, I was suspended. I'm so sad I'm not coming to school.
Yeah, I'm totally not going to hang out with my druggy friends because they're going to be at school. Yeah.
I remember last
Yeah,
year, Mrs.
okay.
Cruz like went nuts with the suspension.
Well, I mean, that's actually not up to her. That's a district policy. So it doesn't really matter. Mrs. Cruz, thanks if you get caught with drugs, you're out for 10 days. But the irony of that, like they should give you in-school suspension. So you have to like stare at your feet for 8 hours a day. That might cure you because you'd be like, this is not worth it. Okay, find the equation for this example. And then part C, how did you know? It was the answer to part A.
You have to have both, or can you just have one?
You don't have to have both, just one of the two. These are each worth 1 point, 3-point daily quiz. Here is yours for today. Oh, Connor, it's your first one. Easy or hard one?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've already got the example I want. Okay, so let's go for this. Negative 24, negative 48, undefined, 48, 24. On your marks, get set, math. When you're done, take out your notes and we'll get even smarter. Purple 3, who are my TAs?
Compared to my handwriting, your handwriting is pristine.
No person has ever told me that. Miss Rodriguez.
Lit teacher.
Okay.
Look at that handwriting though.
Part A is this direct or inverse variation. Part B, find the equation for this example. And part C, how did you know it was the answer to part A? In other words, you got the answer. How did you know that was the answer? Though? You know, you go to a wedding. Obviously, they found the one. Somebody's going to ask, like, when did you fall in love? Or how did you know? And that's when you say, I knew Cameron was the one when he talked about death and decapitation during my honors algebra 2 class, my sophomore year of high school. I knew he was my boy. Or how did you know Caleb was your boy when he was working that differential equation on the board in my honors algebra 2 class and turned it down to a tower series? Yeah. Yep. Cameron's got it in his hand, actually.
It's broken, Beckman.
Go fix it.
That's what I'm trying to do. You have a paper clip?
This is only satisfying people to give it. Fix it. Make it work. I know you can do
You have
this.
a paper clip?
Yeah. Look on my desk in that jar.
Yeah.
Getting worse over time. Not a sickness, it's just bad allergies.
Oh, sorry. Ooh, that's nasty, man.
Can't sleep, that's the worst problem.
Good news. Go to the doctor. They'll give you some really good drugs. They'll just knock you out so your body sleeps whether it wants to.
Doing drugs?
Well, yeah, legal ones from your doctor. I'm not talking about meth here. I'm not
So
telling him
some
to go home
guy,
and
like,
smoke
2,000
meth.
miles away said that one's okay, so that's okay now.
Don't get into that debate. Ahem. Shh. No talking. There's quiz eye.
My fun thing is, so something occurred to me.
Okay.
I've been trying to prove that you can have irrational powers and irrational.
Okay, I think.
Trying to prove you can have an irrational root. You can prove it by saying, okay, because one of the main rules with powers and roots is that powers are new roots.
Class is this?
Honors algebra 2.
Oh, okay.
When they're not talking, you'd think it's honors algebra 2. When they talk, it's hard to tell.
So the e root of some n, to undo that, you take that e root of n to the e power. And as long as it equals n, that statement can hold true. That's one of the properties of powers and roots. I don't actually know a specific way how you would find a, I think, use a Taylor polynomial. How do you do a Taylor polynomial?
Stay in drugs, don't do school.
Oh, what is it?
Let's see.
Oh, skill quiz, is it? Yeah.
Mine's the door.
Poopy dog. Oh, I love it. Great, amazing. It's truly, truly great. Thank you. Do you want me to go down and grab that?
No, I'm not productive. Give me my pen. One more minute. You have a really exciting lesson today. For those of you that are done. For those of you that are done. For those of you that are done, that'll be the first example we do today. Factor the top and factor the bottom. Okay, so finish your Snapchat real quick by giving that disgusted look and then put, I can't believe Beckman's making me, and then get to work. Like people, like, I don't realize you're snapping. Like it's. I ain't that old, people. Breebach, maybe. Me, no. Up one. I covered bumpy towel.
Ugh.
All right, let's take it, pass it over to my boy Jacob Smith. Let's go through the answers and let's get smarter. Yay! Take your desk, put them together too. That's like that was like 0% on the enthusiasm like chart. Like, so disappointed. So disappointed. Hesty, what is you like? Your phone is like your fingers. I'm worried you're gonna get carpal tunnel in class today. What's going on? Hesty. That's her last name.
Oh my god. That was so bad.
Oh my god. So bad.
That was so bad.
Wow, John.
Why do so many teachers have
Because they like are geared for 8 hours.
Yeah,
Why do so many teachers have what?
Fridges.
Because we freaking live here. I don't know. Should we not have fridges? Would you take that away from us?
There's just a question. I'll have to get that.
Just build.
Luckily. Yeah, it's where you keep your Diet
Like
Pepsi. Like
Diet
mellow yolk.
Pepsi? What are you?
Not a crab stealer.
Pepsi's so bad.
any form of Pepsi.
It's a personal opinion.
Okay.
All right, let's take a look. Part A, is this direct or indirect? Or direct or inverse? Inverse. That's actually okay, guys. You can take indirect too. That's another word for it. And obviously, you can tell I'm used to using that word. So find the equation for this. Well, what's the easiest number to plug in? So y is equal to k over x. Plug in 1, plug in 48. You get 48 is equal to k. Now, that's not your answer. What's your answer? Okay, so, oops. Part A, inverse or indirect. Cameron. Part A, inverse or indirect, 1 point. Part B, y is equal to 48 over x. If they got 48 but didn't write the equation, you can give them a half point. And then part C, how did you know? There are 2 answers you can have. What's the first one? When 0 is undefined. Or another answer you can have is what? When x gets, when x gets bigger, y gets smaller. They are indirectly related or the inverse of each other. Aubrey.
I was wondering what you would say instead of saying X goes up when Y.
As x increases, y decreases. Or x varies inversely with y. Yeah. That would be the really fancy answer. X varies inversely with y. In other words, the opposite direction. Yeah.
I said X wasn't continually or something like that.
No, because you have to have that it's decreasing though. Because if it's doing this, it's oscillating. It's not inverse. It's not neither. I know I'm a jerk. I told all y'all transfer to Richardson. Now Connor's here. He can tell you Richardson's nice. She'd probably give you credit for that. She's like me, but nicer. That's where you say, yeah, she would.
Yeah, she would.
And she'd give you a sucker.
And she gave you a sucker.
There you go. Good job. Now, is that true? I have no idea. 5-2 is rational. Is multiply and divide rational functions? Multiply and divide rationals. Really, there's only one thing I'm teaching you today, and then factoring and multiply and divide to 1. Okay, first off, we've got rational expressions. Okay, first off, with expressions, are we going to solve or simplify? Simplify, right, because expressions means that it is what? Not equal to anything. In other words, you're going to use order of op. When we solve something, we undo what's happening to it. And again, the example I used 10 gazillion times, you got a loser boyfriend or girlfriend in your life. You need to get rid of them. What are you going to do? Undo. So you're going to walk up to them and say, I'm subtracting by 1 the number of boyfriends I have in my life to result in 0. He gets it. He starts asking why. You're just like, I'm not going to tell you because it's not going to help. Anything you say is going to be instantly refuted. And just say, if I tell you, you will refute me, and Beckman will recruit you to the debate team. So I'm going to be really nice to you and save you the trouble by not telling you.
So are you saying we should break up with everyone so there's more people on it?
So there's more people. No, so there's more time for math homework, less time for drugs.
But I thought people date on
They do. It's against the rules on the team, but they do. Believe me, they spent. Now we're heading into the season that they really start dating each other. February, I'm like calling the priest, the rabbi, the everything on the bus. Spraying water on people, having to sit between them on the bus. Not you, but somebody related to you. Yes, that's where Beckman has to sit between people in the bus so they don't combine like terms on my bus. We don't want to change the population on the debate bus, and that has a lot of that covers a lot of different things. A lot of different things. Don't let your mind go in the toilet, people. That's one of our 2 rules on the debate team. Don't be stupid. Don't change the population. Covers everything. Same thing when I was coaching basketball. Don't be stupid. Don't change the population. What?
Remember, you always tell us a story about how you had to drive the entire bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through. Not going to equal. Okay, what's a rational expression? First off, we need a rigorous definition. Rational expression is the quotient of polynomials. Rational expression is the quotient of polynomials. Okay, polynomials, sum of variables to positive whole number powers. So in other words, the generic definition, we're going to have a polynomial divided by a polynomial. What we need to be careful of is where the denominator is equal to 0. Because that's not going to be in our domain. Those are the numbers we could plug in and not get an answer out. That causes trouble for us. We'll talk about that as we go. What are we going to do? We're going to simplify, which for a lot of them is either going to be taking out a common factor or factoring the top and the bottom. So not that I precursed you with this one, but let's take a look at an example, and we're asked to simplify. Simplify. What do we got? X squared minus 9 over 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. Now notice, I'm not teaching factoring anymore. I'm assuming you know how to do it. If you don't, please go to Mish. Please go to Mish. Get this one down. It will haunt your math career until you're done with math. There is MASH too. Oh, Aubrey, I know that it's a lot like watching Alabama-Clemson in the semifinal game where the one team is just beating the others down. And that's DCC versus the other schools in D20 with math. Like, we're just destroying them. But we're worried. Maybe TCA is trying to catch up. Maybe they didn't give up this year. So we got to make it even better. So no, we're just adding in more help for you. More ways to dominate in math. More ways to help you get into the college you've always dreamed of. So no, we're still doing MASH, but we're adding Mish into. Ideally, next year, we'll have Mish first period, lunch, fourth period every single day, because I know a lot of you got partials fourth period, so you can just come and get help then too. I know. It's like we're taking our domination of TCA and just making the gap between us and them even wider. I know, making it even harder to date somebody from there. So let's take a look. Yes. Yep, 9 on top. Okay, now I asked you to orient factor. What's the top factor to? Yes, Ethan, 1.
X minus 3 and X plus 3.
Bingo. Does it matter what order you write these in? No, and I don't even know why I wrote them in that order because it's not the order Ethan said. Okay, on the bottom, what's that factor to?
What do you want it out of? Just 4?
3. 3. Yes, Ethan.
2x minus 1 and x minus 3.
Boom, look at that. Okay, now we stop and we check up. All we did was do what to that? Basically, all you're going to do tonight that takes you any appreciable amount of time is factoring. That's it. Everything else is very simple. Because you're going to notice, what operation are these through? Okay, so here's what I'm asking you to do. Number 1, look to either factor or take out common factors. When I say factor, taking out common factors is like a subset of that. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to do right now, determine the domain. And then the third thing we're going to do is actually go back and simplify. Now, I hate to break your heart. Does everything factor? No. Does everything simplify? No. Sometimes it breaks your heart. You factor it out and nothing cancels. No, nothing divides to 1. You're not using that word cancel anymore unless you're calling Netflix or the cable company. Yes. Because a lot of y'all are going to take pre-calc with Breebach next year, and if he hears y'all saying cancel on the first day, he's going to cancel you out of that class.
Can you remove a student from a class?
Sort of.
Breebach is
Breebach is incredibly rigorous in definition. Like, I like rigorous definitions. They're like Breebach's BFF.
Breebach.
Like his wife, his kids, rigorous definitions. Just a little bit beneath that. Right.
If you say something, if you're like, oh yeah, I can't think of a specific time, but if you say something the wrong way, if you just say, yeah, multiply it. What's it? You guys will hear that so many times.
Yeah,
Next year. You say it. What's it?
Yeah, he's a big fan of it, but you'll walk out of his class talking math really smart.
Square it. What's it?
Yeah, what's it? Your number of dates this weekend? No, don't square those. Unless you've got 1, and then it's 1 squared to 1. Haha. I know. All right, so let's determine the domain. Let's go back. Those of you that are in this class, we defined this earlier this year. What's the domain of a function or a domain of a thing? What's the domain of it? The x values that do what? You notice I treated x for input. X is the input most of the time, but like if you're dealing with time and money, time is your input and money is your output. The input values, usually x, that do what? They give an output. Output, another word for answer, usually the y. So we can talk about domain. Now, domain of this is going to be where the denominator does not equal 0, which is kind of weird. Usually we say where the domain is. This is going to be where the domain is not, like the numbers that do not give us an answer, which is going to be where the denominator is equal 0. Now, let's take a real life example because math relates to real life, and this isn't even a relationships thing. Boom. Which means Beckman had to think of this ahead of time. So as Callie's putting her phone away, let's pretend you're in purple too, and you're like, Psycho Beckman, got to get out, switching to Richardson. She teaches it on Silver Days. So you walk around to your friends, you're like, hey, what do you got purple too? You're asking them, they're telling you. So then you go up to your mom and like, Mom, what do you got purple too? What does she say? You raise your hand. You go up to your mom, what do you got purple too?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, because she's not in the what? She's not in the domain, right? She's not going to give you an answer. That's what we're doing. We're talking about things, and we plug those in, we don't get an answer out. We plug those in, and we don't get an answer out. Yeah, you ask your mom purple too, unless she's a teacher, she's going to look at you like you're nuts. Like, I don't go to high school. I go to a Pilates class around that time. Yeah, she's going to look at you like, what's purple too? You'd be like, when Beckman's, oh, I'm watching Beckman's videos on the internet, seeing if you're behaving or not. Well, no, not really, because I have 0 viewers right now. But yes, so the domain, the values of the input, the given output. Yes. In real life, you ask somebody who can't answer the question, that's not part of the domain. Same thing in this. If you plug in a number that cannot answer the question, it's not part of the domain. What's this going to be for rationals? You're going to set the denom equal to 0.
The denom, guys.
And I said equal to 0. You're actually going to set it not equal to 0 because we don't want it equal to 0. So we're going to figure out the numbers that don't work. We're going to figure out the numbers that don't work. I know for for Sadie's, you're trying to figure out the boys or the girls that do work. No, we're going to figure out first the ones that don't work in this. Okay, so nicely, oh, look, what did we already do to the denominator? We already factored it, hot diggity. So let's just set that factored for 2x minus 1. Shh, guys, don't be my JV coach. So set that not equal to 0. Thank you, Ethan, not equal to 0. Ethan, I'll take questions in just a second. So set the denominator equal to 0. So the first thing you're going to do is simplify it. Why? Because you don't want to do that twice. You're going to simplify it, or you're going to factor it first, then you're going to determine the domain, and then you're going to actually go back and divide that puppy out. This one, what do we do to solve that? What do we do to solve that? We already factored it. That was step 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 0 product. Good job using those big words. 0 product property, which means you got 2 things that multiply to 0. At least one of those has to be 0. Not equal. I know that's really hard for me to say. Not equal to 0. Thank you for reminding me, because those are numbers that do not work. These are the boys you don't want to ask to Sadie's. They don't come to the board and do math problems. Yes?
So let's say for the x minus 3 equals 0.
Yep.
You add 3 both sides would be x equals 3, not.
Nope, x cannot equal 3.
Okay.
So add 1, add 1. Maybe that's a better way to say it. X cannot equal 3. Add 1 to both sides. 2x cannot equal 1. So next cannot equal 1/2. Sorry, just tell me. I'll scoot it down. So those are the numbers that do not work. So when we actually go back and simplify, we're going to take these numbers And we're going to put them in there. Because these are numbers that if you plug in, do not work. Now, there's going to be a quandary you're going to run into later in the chapter, but we're not going to run into that quandary today. Quandary is like one of those things you got to really think, like, why does that not work? Okay. So last thing we're going to do is simplify. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to write the problem again, but now I'm going to include this part with it. So I'm going to go back, write the problem. What's that? Yay, the internet loves us. Hopefully it's somebody in Iran. So we have x plus 3. I have a big following in Iran because they leave comments on my videos all the time, like better ways I should do this or like mistakes they think I made. Serious, like a heart attack, yeah.
And is it like written in English?
Of course. You just hit translate, and it translates whatever language you have to English. Well, I have no idea if it was written in English or not. I see English. That's all I see is English. It could be written in Yiddish for all I know. It'd be ironic if somebody wrote that in Iran, but yet it could happen. Okay, so now I'm going to include x cannot equal 1/2 and x cannot equal 3. All right, what divides to 1? What do we have the same on the top and the bottom? Yes, and it turns out x minus 3 divided by x minus 3 is what? 1. Can we do that? Yes, because it's through what operation? Right, so boom and boom. Those are 1, x plus 3, 2x minus 1, as long as x does not equal 1/2 or 3. Now, is that part of your final answer? Yes, that is, because this tells you what is not in the domain. In other words, this is equal to this as long as x doesn't equal that. Yep, Aubrey. Man, Aubrey's American. She raises her hand. Yes.
Did you say x doesn't equal 1/2 or 3? Or yes,
Right. Or you can write or the comma. That's the same thing. Ask Jameson, actually. That'd be a better English teacher question. Samantha. Because those would divide to 1, and 1 times anything is that thing. So x minus 3 divided by x minus 3 is just a really clever form of 1. Rashad.
So what if you can't cancel anything out?
Then you're really sad because you factored it and all you did was make it look in factored form. Connor.
So that's the final answer?
Final answer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's do a little bit more complicated one. Let's take a look at example number 2.
He's already over it.
What?
You don't try hard one. He goes, ugh.
I know. Okay, let's cover this. X squared minus 9 over what should we go for? X squared plus 5x plus 20. And let's divide that by, no. 5 doesn't work. How about 9? 9 works. And let's divide that by, I don't know, 4x plus 4x plus. Oh, no. I can't just come up with these without thinking, people. That works. I need a 4x plus 20. That'll work. And then what are we going to have on top here? Let's go x squared minus 7x plus 12. Now you may say, "Oh, my math, we can't do the." Okay, really, what's the operation between these two puppies? Division. We got a fraction divided by a fraction. What can you do to make that a prettier fraction? Copy dot. Yeah, multiply by the reciprocal. That's the exact right answer. Multiply. Well, with flip. Yeah, reciprocal. Right. That's going to get you the second reciprocal. Right. If you have to go in your boyfriend's basement to do some math problems, yes, reciprocal is going to impress the parents. Flip is not. Okay, so it's division. So the first thing we do is we just take the first fraction and multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Notice us using those big, nice words. Now you may say to yourself, this looks really hard. It's not really hard. And you'll notice I'm going to assume you can factor this. So the next step is I'm just going to show you what the factors are. X squared minus 9 is x plus 3 times x minus 3. Factor the bottom, x squared plus 9x plus 20 factors to x plus 4 and x plus 5. Yes, I could have you do more factoring, but I feel like that's basically all you've done today, so you can probably do this. Okay, look at these. Does that factor? No, but I can take out a what? Common factor, right? So I take out a 4 and I get what? Good job. Notice how I was planning that out. Hashtag strategery. And then x squared minus 7x plus 12 is x plus 3. No, x minus 3. Times x minus 4. Now, am I giving you time to factor? No, because you'll notice I'm not teaching factoring anymore. I've taught you, some of you, twice how to factor. This is, I'm assuming you know how to do that. And again, Mish is a perfect place to get help if you need that. Now you'll notice if I will go back to the previous page, the first thing I do with these puppies is factor them. The second thing I do with these puppies is determine the domain, which means I set all of the terms in the denominator equal to 0. Now I'm going to assume you can do this again. If that was equal to 0, what couldn't x be? -4. What couldn't x be? Yes, that's where you all say it. What couldn't x be? Not -3. 3. And what couldn't x be? 4, right. Yep. And when the leading coefficient is not equal to 1, that's all you do. Now, really, if this was like 2x plus 5, I'd have to take 2x plus 5 and set it equal to 0. But I know you can do that at this point, so I'm not going to spend class time on it. If you can't solve two-step linear equations, I commend you for somehow getting to this class. Okay, so now we simplify. Now, look at the operation. What's that operation? Multiply. Can you cancel like something over here with something over here? Yes, because it's all one operation. Yeah, multiply, 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 multiply. Yeah, we can cancel through operation. And really, we can't cancel because that's a bad word. We can divide things out that are equal to 1. So, for example, what's one thing that divides out equal to 1? Thank you, Jacob, for calling me out on that. X minus 3 and x minus 3. Boom. What else, though? Boom, boom. So what's this equal to? I got a 4 and an x plus 3 on top. Now, you may say, why was I able to do that? Because it's a multiply in between. 4 times that is 4 times that. On bottom, I've got x plus 4, x minus 4. And don't forget, x cannot equal -4, -5, 3, and 4. And I'll scoot that up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all you got to do tonight. Here's some good news, too. If it wouldn't have been division, it was just multiplication, you don't have to flip. If it's just multiplication, it's not division, you just got to flip. Don't have to take the inverse. Thank you. Oof. Look at that.
Reciprocal.
Take the reciprocal. Thank you, not the inverse. Thank you. Whew. Right. Let's do one more. Do one more. Let's do an easy one. And I really do mean an easy one. What? Lauren, we got 4 minutes left. I don't want to have to refund your parents. If your parents watch this and they see me not use 4 minutes, they're going to call Hatch Daddy and they're going to want a refund of some of their taxes. Who said that? You get your parents to sign that and I'll believe it. But I know your parents well enough to know it's not. The next time I see them at a wedding, I'll go up and be like, hey, are you okay if we just like take the last 20 minutes off of class?
This is 4 minutes, not 20 minutes.
What difference does it make if it's 4 or 20? It's time of education you lost. All right, here we go.
Why don't we take 420?
Can't even see it. How do you want us to learn?
All right, all you got to do is simplify. Ready, set, go. All you got to do is simplify. Ready, set, go. Now you may say, wait a minute, we can't factor this one. You're right. Can't factor this one. It's so easy, it's hard. It's so easy, it's hard. Like you didn't have to do nearly as much work on this one. One day, Caleb, I'm going to have you sit out in the hallway and record at what time the other classes get dismissed. Because there was one that was about 5 minutes ago.
Pretty sure the one across there just out really early.
I'm going to have you start recording this so I can start taking the mean.
And then you can let your classroom at the same
No.
time.
Then I can give all the parents at conferences, be like, here's what time your kid's getting out of this class. Go ask Hatchell for a refund.
Or you could just use the security cameras which they've recently installed.
True, I don't know how to hack them yet, though.
They have a computer at that front security desk.
You're not going to walk in there and say, hey.
All right, volunteer, what can we do to simplify this one? First person. Yes, Aubrey. Ahem. Yeah, they both have a factor of what? Bigger. 8. Yeah, you can take an 8 out of both those puppies. 2 and 3. What else? I got x to the 5th, which means I could write x times x times x times x times x. But I know that if I have 5 x's on top and 3 on bottom, I can remove 3 of them to get x squared. And if I got y squared on top and y cubed on bottom, I can take 2 of those out to get a y to the first. So I'm left with, well, 2 x squared on top 3y to the first on the bottom. Now, what's your domain? What can't x and y equal? No. What would cause the denominator to equal to be undefined? If x or y was equal to? Right. X cannot equal 0. Y cannot equal 0. Because if you actually set it equal to 0 and solved, x cannot equal 0, y cannot equal 0. All right. Didn't I show you the homework at the start of the period? I feel like I did. I always text it out. Or at least I try to remember to always text it out. Speaking of that, where is it? Speaking of that, where is it? Well, it was up here. All right. Have a good day. Don't forget Mish. There's Mash, but you also can Mish now.
On your problem for non-integer roots, non-integer roots mainly.
Yeah, where did I put that sheet?
I figured we could do an analytic continuation of the existing nth root Taylor polynomial theory.
Yes.
You can perform an analytic continuation and assume that it's true.
Okay.
Which makes sense in math.
Where did I put that, kid?
Put what? Wait, what is it?
The sheet there. And that's not it either.
Oh, wait a minute.
Some equals
Can I get
children.
a picture of that?
Of course you can, Jacob. Thank you. We do not discriminate. Have a good day.
Where's your candy?
What's that? Up above.
Up above? I don't know what that means.